We are back for another episode of the BetSperts Golf DFS show, aka the Byron Show, which is hosted by myself, Byron, the Model Maniac, and my good friend, aka PJ Splits 101, also known as Ron Class. What's cooking, dog?
Hey, man. The last 2 weeks, multi-entering. I've had a combined 3 lineups with 6 of 6 make it through. Last week was ridiculous, and of course, top it all off with a Peter Malnati win, like anyone even dreamed of that happening. So the lack of predictability in this sport is something else.
It is difficult, but I was just saying to Matt before you jumped into the studio is that's how we ride. You know, you go big or you go home. And I think when you're multi-entering, you got to go like to get those 48 lineups of your 150 through. That week is the week you live for, you know, like kind of just sucking it up. It is what it is. We'll wait and see what goes on. But we've got an expedited show going on today, Ron. We are officially 1 for 1 in our 6K results, you know, our 6K little matchup / snake draft that we do. We'll try that again this week. My biggest winner was Mackenzie Hughes for me. Thank God. You know, he made some big putts on that final hole to kind of get himself. I think it saved me like $17 or something weird just by that final putt. So good stuff from Mackenzie Hughes. Let's dive into this week. And we've got a $13,000 Scotty Scheffler, and then we've got 3 guys in the 10Ks, which is a very interesting slate, Ron. So hit me with your Scotty Scheffler take in 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's not much win equity in this field, and I don't see a long shot taking down Scotty. And so if anybody beats him, I expect it to be one of these handful of other options in the upper tier. And so, you know, thinking again about how poor this field is overall, I don't think it's the week to fade Scheffler. I mean, he has the course record here. He has 5 wins on these Poetriv greens, and he's in a groove with the flat stick right now. He's gained putting in 4 of his last 5 events. And, you know, a big thing this week is, you know, I think we should just really quick talk about, you know, it's basically a brand new course this week. You know, we have the move from fall to spring. We have softer conditions on the fairways and greens. We have smoother Poetriv overseed instead of, you know, Bermuda on the greens. And so, you know, the biggest change, though, is we went from 2.5-inch penal Bermuda rough to practically nothing but a slight first cut of 1-inch ryegrass rough. And so, you know, the one thing that I think is still going to be somewhat challenging is these around the green areas with all these runoffs, and you have a lot of tricky pitch shots from collection areas. And some of those shots are among the best. You know, Scotty's one of the best in the world at those. And so, you know, I firmly believe there are enough 6, 7K options to play Scheffler with ease and still get different with how you mix and match guys at the bottom.
So you're going to match the field at 40%, Ron, or are you going to go 60% Scotty, or what's your deal?
So I'm not multi-entering this week. Probably, you know, I'll probably get somewhere around 50 lineups this week. But I probably see myself playing at least 50% Scotty, so I'll still be above the field. So yeah, I just don't know how you can get away from him, honestly.
Cool. We'll see how it goes. I am going to rock and roll without him. I'm going to go heavy on Thigala and Will Zalatoris. I think I even I'll be doing single entries, 3 entry maxes this week. I'm not doing multi-entry this week, especially when I'm fading Scheffler. That's typically how I try and do that. So I managed to fit Thigala, Clark, and Zalatoris into a lineup. With the 5K range, you can fit 3 10K guys in there now, which is pretty interesting. And the guys weren't terrible. So that's pretty much how I feel. I'm a big fan of Thigala and Zalatoris this week, especially stacking those 2 at 10-3, 10-1. You can do a lot of damage elsewhere with some really good names in the 7s and the 8s there. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm out on Scotty Scheffler. I've bet him top 10 at minus 230, laying the hammer, and we're going. You know, that's just how it is. He's minus 230 is a 70% implication run. He's doing a top 10 at like 80% rate right now, the last 12 months. So it's just insane, you know, and now we go to a course like this. So give me that. I'll leave him out of my DFS situation. Let's move into the 9s and chat about Tony Finau, defending champ, who does not know how to play golf at the moment relative to his skill set. Siwoo Kim doesn't know how to putt, coming off a good putting week at the Players last week, though. Jason Day loves Texas. Alex Noren been playing some good golf lately. Keith Mitchell, the monstrous ejection over there on Sunday last week. So we got Final guy, Tom Hoagie, one of the best iron players in the world. So we've got some names in this 9K range, Ron. Hit me with two of them that you're playing. Hit me with one you are not.
So I'm in on Finau this week. Putting is still a real concern. I think he's at like 144th this season, but he is just still so good on approach. He's when you look at the course this week, it's the fourth longest on tour. I think approach from 200 plus yards is going to be critical, and he's one of the best in the field in that range. So I'm still willing to pull the trigger on him. Considering it's a weak field, his length is still a bonus here, and he is the defending champion. So I think 9.9 is actually pretty decent value considering the field strength. My other guy, and I've been off of him recently, but he's as much as he collapsed on Sunday, Keith Mitchell at 9.2. I think he's kind of building towards his next win, and he tied for sixth out of all players in total driving this season. His approach game is what is really, as kind of was mentioned on the broadcast, is how much improvement he's made in that area. Where he is third in this entire field over the past 6 months on approach. And when you combine that with his brilliance off the tee, if he can just mentally, get past, whatever hurdles are holding him back, I think Mitchell is another guy that at that price is a really good play for me. Now, one guy I will tell you, I was on Tom Hoagie. But looking a little deeper at the length of this course and how, off the tee, he's that's kind of where he struggles at. His around the green play is not the best. So initially I was on Hoagie, but I'm kind of backing off that stance right now.
Do you think the fact that the rough is shorter and less penal means that around the green play not as important this week because guys will be hitting more greens?
Yeah, I think that's another angle you could look at it. I know, I just remember from watching highlights and even going back and looking at last year, these greens, and I don't know how firm they're going to be. I know the season change, it may be softer this year than usual, but last year these greens were so bouncy, and if you don't hit the exact right quadrant, you have all these elevated greens and you have these runoff areas, and even with the rough being more consistent, this ryegrass that's easier to hit from. You're still going to have a lot of uphill pitch shots with these sloping greens that can be really tricky. And so you make a good point, but I still think I'm going to be fading Hoagie this week.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, his irons, though, when he gets cooking, he may not have to chip once around. That's just how good he is. It's worth a shot, but we'll see. At 12% ownership, I don't know if I'm going to be going there with him. Let's dive into some guys I don't mind here. I don't mind Alex Noren. He's just, if we're considering the fact that he's been playing so well lately, that's what kind of drives me to him. He's very good around the greens. He's, played some solid golf in the last few tournaments with a 9th and a 19th. I don't know how this course translates to him, but I'm just going to ride that good form. I also don't mind Jason Day at all. I think he actually suits this course as it eases up a little bit as well. Love Jason Day in Texas. Love Jason Day in California. And I think the easier the course gets, the better Jason Day will play. So I'm a big, big fan of Jason Day this week. And then I will be playing Tom Hoagie. I bet him top 20. I'll be playing him as well. So we'll see what cooks. I don't know if I'm going to be playing Tony Finau at all, even at this golf course. I think I'm surprised to only see him around 13, 14%, which is kind of crazy, But, if that kind of remains there, maybe I will dabble. Let's take a look at the 8s, Ron. We got some fun names in here too. I will flag plant Steven Yeager as my go-to guy. I feel like this golf course suits him so well. Driving distance, out the rough play, scrambling around the green. Get that guy the hell out of Florida. The putter was completely lost in Florida. Hopefully it bounces back on these Poetry of greens. Let's see what he can do this week.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on Yeager. He's kind of turned into one of the most complete golfers on tour, like who hasn't won yet. He's top 25 in the field if you look at driving distance, if you look at proximity from 200 yards, if you look at around the green play, in the last 3 months. His 3-putt avoidance is really well, which is another thing. On these greens, you have 7,000 square foot greens on average. And so 3-putt avoidance is going to be really key this week, I think. One of my most important stats I'm looking at. And even if you look at strokes gained total on longer courses, he's in the top 10 there as well. And so, he finished 9th here last event that was held here. So I do love him this week. And for me, I'm kind of dropping all the way down to the bottom here. I think Doug Gim is someone who Disappointed a lot of people last week. I'm coming back to him this week, playing in Texas. Sixth best golfer, tee to green over the last 50 rounds. And when you look at his putting, if kind of between 5 and 15, that magic range, he is above average in that area. And so I like his consistency. Obviously, he's a top 20 machine. I'm hoping that we maybe get a little more from him this week. And then Kurt Kitayama at 8-1. If you look at his recent results, 8th in Phoenix, he was 19th at the Players. And, where did he win his last event? At Bay Hill last year, which is a comparative course to Memorial Park. He really excels on these, longer courses. Yeah. And so long approaches he's really good at. So I really like Kitayama at 8-1.
Yeah. I also have Bay Hill as a comp course, Ron, but now kind of just thinking about, we've learned a lot like in the last little while from interviews, right? We've learned that this rough is all the way down and it's just smash as far as you can, deal with where you are after that. So that's interesting, right? Because Bay Hill, it's the same principle, but the rough is way more penal than we should expect this week. Secondly, we also learned that Wyndham Clark mentioned that he tweaked his back this week. Now, I mentioned you could fit Wyndham Clark into a lineup with Sahith and Will Zalatoris. How are we handling Wyndham? He's currently projected at 25%. So with that kind of news, let's pretend it goes to 20, maybe 15%. Back injury, it's like, I don't know where, we can overreact to this, or is he just talking absolute crap? And we've seen guys with Scotty, literally with the K-tape on his neck, win a golf tournament. So sometimes when the expectations are down and you've got a niggle, these guys can really play their best golf. What is your take on this, Ron?
Yeah, you think about the Hideki situation. I don't think this is similar, but I do think that with the Masters 2 weeks away, I don't think a guy like Wyndham Clark's going to take any chances this week. And I was going to play him some, but when this news broke, kind of just thinking about how close the Masters is, and this event really doesn't mean much to him, or it shouldn't in the big picture. So, back injuries, those are fickle things, and so it's not something I want to spend almost $11K on a player who is who knows what the percentages are that he'd actually withdraw. But I could see him, if he comes out and struggles at all tomorrow, he'll just, hey, my back's hurting, I got to withdraw and prepare for the Masters. So I can see that happening.
I can see it too. I also wouldn't be surprised to see him not battle through it. He's teeing it up. Why would he be teeing it up if it wasn't an issue? Maybe it happened this week while he was there. Injury news in the NFL is so much better than, I would take NFL injury news over golf injury news any day of the week. These guys are such anomalies and enigmas. It's just so difficult to figure out, Ron. It's so difficult to figure out. But yeah, if he's chalk, I'll fade him. Even, that's fine. We'll wait and see what some ownership runs come out tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that drop into the teens. Where were we? In the sevens. I guess I wanted to chat about Patrick Rodgers. I'm seeing him at 4% ownership, which is kind of interesting. I know he's missed the last 2 cuts at the Valspar and the Players. We had a 6th at Mexico and a 25th at the API. Those are 2 courses that I can kind of relate this venue to a little bit more. Farmers, 9th place there. Pebble, not so hot. I think these longer courses that can really benefit his driving distance and just overall length is going to be where I want to play Patrick Rodgers at this price, at this ownership. Give me all of that. See where he gets going. I'll also be playing Jake Knapp. I just feel like this golf course suits Jake Knapp quite nicely. I feel like most golf courses suit Jake Knapp quite nicely. I think that everyone will be playing Jake Knapp. He looks like the most popular golfer in the 9 and 8K range. So we'll wait and see there, but some names that I don't mind. Thorbjørn Olesen has been letting me down in a big way lately. He needs to get his stuff together. Mackenzie Hughes is looking very popular at $7,800. I'll be going back to Cam Davis after disastrous Players. He kept the short game together. I think everything will be okay. He's very good at golf at 5%, looking for some leverage, $7,700 Cam Davis. Thomas Dietrich as well. What is he doing nowadays? He's playing better golf. He sacrificed his soul down at the Cognizant with the 6 putt to kind of find some better golf again. He cost me a 4-leg 3-ball parlay in round 1 because Aaron Rye couldn't beat him. Mark Hubbard's another guy I'll be going to as a pivot off of Joel Damon. Who would have thought we'd be saying that after watching the full swing like 2 weeks ago? Joel Damon, by the way, I was looking at this. Joel Damon has more strokes gained total in his 8 rounds of golf average than Scotty Scheffler does at this venue. Think about that. Like, what world are we living in? And that's going to just send Joel Damon's stock, especially after playing some good golf the last little while. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to eat that, Joel, Ron, because it's a different golf course. What Joel's so good at is hitting the fairways, staying out of the trouble. That's eliminated now. If what we believe is true from this golf course.
Yeah, that's something I have to keep reminding myself of what you just said there, because I have this picture of Memorial Park in my head from the past 3 years, and I just have to keep reminding myself it's not going to play the same this year. And so, course history is you could almost say it's irrelevant here.
I would.
And yeah, I mean, I think you can almost say that. I mean, you look at some of the quotes even by, Chandler Phillips, who was interviewed, and he basically called it a bomber's paradise. And, it was long. It's always been long, but you couldn't just swing away freely because you're worried about that rough. I mean, some of the most penal rough on tour. And so, yeah, like looking in this range, like even a guy like Mackenzie Hughes, who has finished inside the top 30 here in all 3 of his trips.
Yes.
And he's one of the hottest players on tour. And, you look at a new course this year where it's playing, he thrives in tough conditions. Yeah. And it's going to be much easier this week. And then I look, and I don't know what you're seeing him, but I'm seeing Mackenzie Hughes at 16% ownership right now. So I think that's going to be a pass for me. So for me, like I'm going to drop down here. I really like Luke List, who's sitting at much lower ownership. He is always a threat on these longer courses with his power off the tee, his long iron play. And so again, even if you're looking at around the green play, he's one of the things he's not too good at, but he did gain almost 6 strokes here when he finished 11th. And so, I do like Luke List. I agree with you on Thomas Dietrich. I think his ball striking, his elevated ball flight, especially if the greens are firm again. One of the things we have on the rabbit hole is, looking at the apex ball flight. So I think that's something I'm looking at a little bit this week as well. And then just dropping down here, I cannot get away from Ryan Fox. I think I've been on him every single week, and I know his results have not been pretty. But again, when we're talking about longer courses, I think this is kind of plays right into his strengths. And so I'm just keep kind of banking on his elite play that he showed in years past, especially, in European events and tougher courses. And so, again, I think 7-2 is a pretty decent value for him.
I kind of like that, Ron.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you there. Well, to interrupt you about Ryan Fox is we know how good of a golfer he is. And every time he plays badly, like kind of not doubling down, but still staying committed to him, that reward is only going to be better and better because less people will be on him when he does finally show who he is, right? And it could happen at any given moment. He's extremely talented. Maybe there'll be a moment where it clicks. Maybe now that we're out of Florida, he's back, to Texas. Maybe that just helps feel at home. He's from New Zealand. I don't know if Australia is the same as New Zealand New Zealand is the same as Florida or Texas, but I'd imagine Texas is a bit more comfortable for those kind of golfers. So bear that in mind. I do appreciate your commitment to the Ryan Fox hunt.
Yeah, I just think his pedigree, when you look back at what kind of player he's been over the long term, I think when you're dipping down into this range, you're looking for guys who can spike. And as poor as he's played, I think he has that potential. And I think a guy like a Taylor Montgomery, who's right there at 7-3, as hot as he can get with the putter, he's shown some flashes on approach, at different points, going back to even like the Sony Open where he gained 7 strokes, gained another 2 at Phoenix. So I think Taylor Montgomery and just getting into this range is guys who have the ability to spike and who have upside. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for down here. I think Montgomery and Fox and Luke List all fit that bill.
Yep. I love all 3 of those there on. I think Montgomery is an interesting guy, especially when you think about how many birdies he can make when he gets rolling. I'm a little sour on Fox. I'll let you continue that until he plays well. I'll join. Love Luke List from you. Love that. I'll do Cam Davis a little bit more, like I mentioned. We are fading Mackenzie Hughes for sure. 6Ks. This is where we start our little draft, Ron. So I started last week. You start this week. 3 guys apiece.
All right. One of my favorite plays on the entire slate, going down to 6'8", good old Bobby McIntyre. Again, I think he's one of the few high ceiling long shot plays who has winning experience, who also fits this course. You look kind of his recent form. He has 3 top 40s in his last 5 events. He finished 6th in Mexico, which I think is going to play somewhat similar to Memorial Park, as far as, a long bombers course. He has plenty of experience thriving in, windy conditions in Scotland, which we're going to see a little bit this week, especially getting into Friday. So I think he is one of my favorite plays, and I think he's kind of trending upwards. I know he's been struggling with the putter. I know he's been working on it, even with Brad Faxon. So I think McIntyre at 6'8" is one of the best values for sure.
Interesting. I would say I would have preferred him in the November edition of this tournament, where it's a bit more tricky and a bit more difficult. I don't know how I like Bobby Mack at a golf course that is projected to be playing a lot easier. I'll dive down to a guy by the name of Joseph Bramlett at $6,600. He has played nicely here in the past, a 9th place in 2022, has had 3 top 41 finishes in his last 4 starts. So he's playing some solid golf. I like Bramlett at these kind of courses where he can unleash the driver, do his thing in that department. $6,600 seems very affordable to me for someone that's inside the top 35 of my model. At $6,600, it seems like a good value in that range.
I am.
Do I get back-to-back picks, or do we just go 1-1?
How did we do it? I can't remember. I think we just went 1-1.
Yeah, just go.
I don't think we did snake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll start the other way next week if you want to.
No,
Yeah, I'll go Cameron Champ here. I know he's, we're talking about the bomber course profile. He's kind of started to put it together recently. You've seen him playing a little better on the weekend here last week. And so I think just his elite off the tee game, if he can get hot with the putter, I think we're looking at a 6'4". I think he's a guy who, if the course plays like we think it's going to play, easier, I think he fits the bill at 6'4" for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you're looking for. Long irons. He's playing a bit better golf. I don't mind that at all. I had my eye on Ryan Moore, but this is the one part about coming out of this Florida swing is there's guys that are Florida specialists that are going to be playing well that won't translate to Texas. And Ryan Moore is one of those guys. So I won't be playing Ryan Moore. I will be playing Ryan Palmer, going from one course specialist to the other, essentially. Ryan Palmer hasn't necessarily played the best golf at this golf course, but he plays his best golf down in Texas. There's a range that he plays good golf in. It's Texas, baby. A 21st place finish here in 2021, and then missed the cut last time they were out here. So he's been moving in the right direction. 2 made cuts in 2 of his last 3 starts. Once this guy gets down to Texas, he parties. So give me Ryan Palmer at $6,200, especially at that kind of ownership. Who knows? If it plays easier than it usually does, I'm in, because I don't like him on like a super tough course. But if it eases up a bit, give me Ryan Palmer. Let's party.
I'm going to go back, jump up a little bit. I forgot about this guy. He finished 31st in my model. He's 6,900. That would be Sam Ryder, who has 3 consecutive top 35 finishes. He has been riding, kind of the hot flat stick. But looking at his, you don't really think of him as a quality player on longer courses, but he's in the top 40 in this field in long courses. So I'm going to kind of bank on his recent form, his consistency at 6,900.
Cool. I don't mind Sam. He's fun. He's good for DFS. He makes tons of birdies. It's very interesting to see what he gets up to. All right. I get bonus points if I pick a 5K guy, Ron?
Well, yeah, sure.
What bonus points do I get?
Actually, we should make a rule where we each have to pick one 5K guy. So,
okay.
Yeah.
2 6s and a 5. Cool. Okay. I like that. We could almost have like an imaginary salary cap. Anyway, but we can discuss that off air. Rafael Campos, $5,200. That's my guy. Ball striking beast. Guy's solid around the greens. Let's see what he can do. I've been a big believer in him. When he gets to the weekends, he plays some solid golf. So Campos has been playing well, man. Hasn't played a lot, but he's got a 20th and a 38th in 2 of his last 3. And he's played well in Mexico and the Farmers, which to me, another 2 good overlapping venues compared to like where he missed the cut last week at the Valspar. So give me Campos. I like him a lot at 50. He will be one of my anchors in the 5K range.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Vegas, who is at 5,600, and he was 41st in my model this week. He is actually top 10 in this field in ball striking still, kind of a weekly thing with him. He is 12th best in this field on long courses. And then, when I run on the rabbit hole, another thing you can do is put in the courses that are similar to the week's course. And so on my comp course model for the week, he is 21st best in this field. So I think Jonathan Vegas brings a lot of upside to the table if he can get through the cut line at 5,600.
Cool. I love Vegas too. He's waiting to just figure it out because he got through the cut at Mexico and it broke him. It broke him literally. So we're waiting for Vegas to figure his stuff out, but we'll see what he can get up to. I think that's a solid play there. On any other names in this range, I'll be mentioning Tom Whitney again, as always, $5,400.
Well, you've got one more pick, so you got 3. I've got 4, you've got 3, so you got one more.
You picked 4 guys already?
McIntyre, Champ, Ryder, and Vegas. You have Bramlett, Palmer, and Campos, so you need one more.
Bramlett, Palmer, and Campos, and I can do a 6K guy. Still,
you can do anybody. Yep, anybody 7K or below.
I will do. How does Sam Stevens sound? At $6,400. I love the distance off the tee. Give me that. I feel like that's an easier course for Sam. Seems like the way to go for him, right? So, I don't know, Ron. I bet a whole bunch of unders for round 1 for 4 different golfers. I think that's the round to kind of really attack anything under this week. I don't know how easy it's still going to play though, like with the grass changing, but also the wind. The wind looks like it's going to be 12 miles plus Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the golfers at teeing off in the afternoon, especially. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect this week. Give us your final thoughts on this week.
Agree completely. When you look at the weather, when you look at how the rough is probably going to grow somewhat throughout the week, I think tomorrow is the day to attack. If you're looking to play unders for rounds, just for round 1, I think birdies, all those things should be probably aggressively pursued because usually the books are not the best at picking up these subtle changes that courses make. So I think that's a really interesting angle to look at.
Cool. They do have like over 3.5 birdies, but at -190, like they being a bunch of chickens, those books of theirs. So don't want to give us solid numbers. Anyway, go hunt some down. I tweeted out a few unders for total scores out there too. So that's at the Model Maniac. Follow Ron at PJ Splits 101 on the X machine. Go check out the rabbit hole. It's awesome. You can filter on pretty much anything you want, and it undresses the stats exactly how you would like. So it's an awesome tool. Go check it out. Hit Ron up in the DMs if you're looking for a nice promo code. He'll hit you with one of those. Thanks to Matt behind the scenes for organizing the show for us. Let's have an awesome week at the Texas Children's Houston Open for DFS at betspertsgolf.com. Have yourselves a great week, and don't forget to pivot your face off.